Testing, testing.
Okay.
Good morning. Welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for October 25th, 2023. And first item is, well, actually, before we get to the substance of that, for those of you that are here for the WGL rate proceeding, which we're going to take up after we get done the administrative meeting, we are going to take at least a 30-minute break from the end of the admin meeting to the start of that because we're still working out some logistical items related to that proceeding. So with that, we have minutes from our last administrative meeting on October 11th that need to be approved. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve.
Was I here for this?
You could still say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
God,
Mr.
I'm usually the
Secretary.
person saying that.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. There are 3 items on today's consent agenda. The first item consists of revised tariff pages from Neutral Tandem Maryland LLC. Item number 2 is an interconnection agreement between Verizon Maryland LLC and Xtel Communications Inc. And item number 3 is a request from Shady Oaks 2 LLC for certification of a renewable energy facility.
Okay, in regards to item 1, I move that we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of October 25th, 2023. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Regarding item 2, I move that we approve the interconnection agreement 10 days after a 30-day comment period unless we receive any adverse comments. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve.
Aye.
Commissioner Richards.
Aye.
I vote aye. And then regarding item 3, I move that we approve the application and issue a renewable energy facility ID certification number, that we direct the applicant to establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days of the certification. And third, direct the applicant to notify the commission within 30 days if the information on which the application is based on has changed. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
Or Commissioner Barve, sorry. I vote aye.
Lift it up on us.
Mr. Chair, item number 4 on the administrative agenda is a request from Brookfield Properties for a solar renewable energy credit true-up.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Craig Taborski representing staff. This item is a request from Brookfield Properties for an adjustment to the meter readings sent to GATS for registration of their solar renewable energy credits. PJM's Environmental Information Service uses PJM's Generator Attribute Tracking System as a registry for SRECs. Brookfield requested a true-up from PJM for about half of the SRECs generated at Brookfield's photovoltaic facilities at the mall in Columbia for calendar year 2022. PJM GATS has a strict policy of correcting errors only for the calendar year during which the error was reported and not for prior years. GATS allows its member states to override this determination. However, MDPSC staff routinely affirms the GATS policy of not allowing true-ups for prior years. The applicant seeks a correction of approximately 943 megawatt hours for the 2 systems as described in the filing. Staff recommends that the Commission affirm PJM's policy, which does not allow SREC true-ups for prior years, and deny the request of Brookfield Properties. Thank you.
So is there anybody here representing Brookfield Properties? Actually, why don't you head over there and just tell us who you are.
Sure. I'm Brian Lee. I'm Energy Manager for Brookfield Properties Retail.
Okay. So you've heard staff's recommendation regarding your application. You have a response? or-
I do have a response.
Sure.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Brian Lee. Like I said, I'm energy manager for Brookfield Properties Retail. Brookfield Properties Retail owns and operates more than 120 shopping malls across the country. We have a total of 60 megawatts of solar arrays at 50 of these locations, including 7 megawatts in the state of Maryland alone. In PJM GATS, we're recording more than 10 megawatt hours of solar generation annually across 12 different NONs in the system. I'm here today seeking your approval to adjust the 2022 production data entered in PJM GATS for 2 of the solar arrays that we have at the mall in Columbia. And I appreciate your time and consideration. So I agree with the staff's recommendation to affirm PJM GATS policy. I do not, however, agree with the staff's statement that PJM GATS has a strict policy which does not allow SREC true-ups for prior years. It's simply not true. GATS operating rules not only contemplate adjustments, but explicitly allow them for up to 2 years. So I'd like to point out that while the staff's comments included language from COMAR, none of the strict language from GATS policy was included in the recommendation. So I'd like to share a couple of excerpts from the GATS operating rules published September 24th of 2020. Section 6.3.1, referring to dynamic data, if adjustments to monthly megawatt hour or kilowatt hour generation are required due to meter or data reporting errors, and such adjustments are made to the data after it is reported to GATS, the adjustments must be submitted to GATS by the reporting entity. Adjustments will be evaluated based on the state the system is certified in, and no adjustments will be made for a prior reporting year without approval of the affected state. So what I'm looking for today is approval. We are allowed to do it under PJM GATS. Section 8.2.3.1, dynamic data import. Monthly meter adjustments for past months are applied to the current month. Adjustments are only processed back to the start of GATS or a maximum of 2 years, whichever is shorter. So it's allowed up to 2 years. Section 8.3, account holder review period. If new certificates are created, the vintage of the certificates shall be the next month and year that the certificates are issued for that generating unit. 2 years after the creation of a certificate, there can be no further adjustments by the GATS administrator. This is within the 2 years. So to conclude, staff's claim that PJM policy does not allow SREC true-ups for prior years is false. It's not supported by what is actually written in the GATS operating rules. Brookfield's request is fully consistent with GATS operating rules, and in fact, this exact circumstance is explicitly contemplated. What we're requesting is reasonable. We just want to correct a data reporting error in PJM GATS. We discovered and reported this error in a reasonable time frame, and the data adjustment we want to enter is not disputed. It was measured by revenue grade meters, recorded and reported by an independent third-party verifier. So today, I'm asking the Commission to fulfill its vision to be a national leader in regulatory excellence and innovation. I'm asking the Commission to fulfill its mission to be just, reasonable, and transparent. And I ask the Commission to provide approval for this meter data adjustment in PJM GATS as explicitly allowed under the published GATS operating rules. Thanks for your consideration.
Any response from staff?
PJM has always denied prior year request with the caveat that we can override that. And most of the requests go to PJM first, and then PJM notifies the customer and staff, which has been me, and tells them about the possible override from the state. And I've never allowed that, and I think most of the requests have come through me for the past 12 years.
Any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess this is to staff. I mean, the energy was generated in a Maryland qualified facility, and it does seem to me that I'm trying to understand where the harm would be here in just looking back and just making this true up due to this mismetering. What this are we just simply allowing them to create those RECs based on the generation that did occur last year and making them available for them, meeting the Maryland RPS?
Well, certainly that's up to the commission at this point. But staff is concerned that, there are a lot of situations like this.
You say there are a lot of situations?
Right, I get at least 3 or 4 requests a year for true-ups like this, and there are a lot of systems out there that have never been certified, for instance, and they want to go back and recoup what they've generated. So that's our primary concern.
Oh, okay, well, in this circumstance, we have a system that is certified, and they made the investments, they generated the energy. It was just a mismeter here. Is there a particular harm that you see in allowing them to, create these RECs and making them available to the Maryland RPS market?
Well, this would definitely set a precedent, and I know, for instance, PJM doesn't allow true-ups for prior years. I mean, Pennsylvania doesn't allow true-ups for prior years, and I'm not really sure which states would.
Okay, and I'm just curious, does Pennsylvania also have an in-state requirement? Do they have their own Pennsylvania SREC?
They do.
Okay. I don't really have any other questions, but I'll say I tend to support the request for the true up.
Okay. Commissioner Sushman.
So I have a question for Brookfield. So can you explain how this happened? Was it a meter failure?
No, the meters are correct. The meters did not fail. We have multiple systems at this property. We have multiple O&M providers. And with, myself being relatively new to my position and we changed one of the providers, trying to map over which meter went with which NON and PJM GATS. We made a mistake on mapping it and put the production for one of the smaller meters or 2 of the smaller meters on these NONs where we should have put them on these NONs that we're trying to adjust.
Okay, and then when did you discover the error?
We discovered it in April of 2023, and that's when one of the former maintenance providers, we finally got the NONs transferred over in PJM GATS from that provider to us. So then at that point we're like, wait a minute, there are other NONs for Mullen Columbia, and at that point we were able to map it out and get the correct meter aligned with the correct NON.
Okay. I mean, it seems I'm sort of in agreement with Commissioner Richard. And especially if it was inadvertent, the power was supplied to the market, and we're not talking about looking back 5 or 6 years. We're looking back at a single year, and I don't see that this is a heavy lift in terms of sort of crediting electric energy that actually went to the market and was used by customers.
Commissioner Barbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I take it from all of this that this problem has been corrected and won't occur in the future. You've taken actions to see to that, correct?
Correct. We've documented and mapped which meter goes with which NON, and it's straightened out now that we're up and running with it.
Well, I'm ordinarily, Mr. Chairman, a person who doesn't like to set new precedent or do things differently, but I think I'm inclined to be in the same position as Commissioner Suchman and Richard. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I will make a motion that we approve the requested adjustment to the meter readings sent to GATS for registration for these SRECs as applied for by Brookfield Properties. Commissioner Sushman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Mr. Chair, item number 5 is a request from Enterprise Road Solar LLC for extension of the operational deadline for its Enterprise Road Solar project.
Good morning, Chair Hoover, Commissioners. Ruth E. Herman on behalf of staff. With me at the podium is Drew McAuliffe, Director of the Electricity Division. Enterprise Road Solar asks the Commission to extend their operational deadline. In my pre-filed comments, I described the regulatory language that provides this body the legal authority to grant the extension. You'll note that the authority rests on a showing of good cause. After studying the facts, it is staff's opinion that the company has satisfied this requirement. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission grant the extension. I'm available for questions, as is Mr. McAuliffe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Max Cook on behalf of Enterprise Road Solar LLC. I also have with me Mr. Don Zimmerman from the project company. We've reviewed staff's filing and have nothing further to add. With that, we're here to answer any questions from the Commission. Thank you.
Any questions from any of the Commissioner Barve?
Yeah, and not so much as a question as a thank you to Ruthie for giving me the details with respect to the local permitting problems, which I have to say were rather shocking to me. I think that local government agencies should be able to move much more quickly than Park and Planning did in this instance. So thank you, and thank you for your perseverance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Actually, I got a couple questions. So, in the letter that you sent, you referenced having to deal with the homeowners association connected to this property. And I guess I have some knowledge about how those things work, and they do tend to have fairly large approval processes. Was that a big part of the problem in getting this approval?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was certainly a part of the process. As our filing indicates, the early stages of obtaining clean title was working with the 6 entities who were required to provide that approval for the project. As you can see, it was really the main entity was the National Capital Park and Planning Commission, who was unwilling to grant that approval until the mandatory referral process, but took them months to let the project know that that's what they needed in order to grant that approval.
Okay, so the HOA process wasn't a big impediment, or?
It was certainly an impediment at the beginning with respect to the National Capital Park and Planning, but not the other entities, not as much, no.
Okay. Now, so getting to the Park and Planning Commission, I mean, is this like a systematic problem with them, or was this sort of a one-off with this particular project?
So,
Actually, just step up and,
yeah,
again,
I'm
introduce yourself to us.
Yes, I'm Don Zimmerman. I'm a member of the project company. So, in this particular instance, in their covenants and restrictions, there were limitations as to the use of the parcel of land. And in this particular case, in order to change that usage, it required all those signatures from all those different entities. And that was really kind of the driver in this particular case. We have never seen this before. We didn't anticipate it. And so it was a bit of a stumbling block up front that we needed to get through in order to make sure we had a viable project.
All right, so I guess what I'm wondering is, I mean, do we need to, maybe reach out to the Park and Planning Commission to, because I assume we're going to have more of these coming because of legislation from last year, and if the Park and Planning Commission is a barrier to having these things approved, maybe we need to have some discussion with them. So.
I mean, I think in this particular case, this is also during the initial stages of COVID.
Oh.
So a lot of people were working from home, and there was a difficulty in reaching the appropriate people and finding the appropriate people to speak to. And then ultimately, after a lot of circling, we got to the point where they said, Summarily, we will approve it, but you have to get through the mandatory referral first. And by that point in time, that was enough for us to say, okay, we have confidence, we can get through, we have all these other signatures, we can make this project a go.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, well, with that, I move that we grant the requested waiver and extend the operational deadline for the Enterprise Road Solar Project from November 9, 2023 to November 9, 2024. Commissioner Schlesman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barve.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Mr. Chair, item number 6 is a notice of assignment of natural gas customer contracts from Constellation Home Products and Services LLC to Constellation New Energy Gas Division LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Evan Thomas on behalf of staff, Constellation Home and Product Services LLC and Constellation New Energy Gas Division LLC jointly filed a notice of the assignment of gas supply contracts from Constellation Home and Product Services to Constellation New Energy Gas Division. The filing included a copy of the notice sent to customers that informed the customers of the assignment. The notice stated that the terms and conditions of the contracts are unaffected by the assignment and contains contact information for both Constellation Home Product Services and Constellation New Energy Gas Division. Please note that from January 2023 to March 2023, Constellation New Energy received the most complaints of any supplier in Maryland, according to the Consumer Affairs Division's quarterly report for that quarter. And so in summary, staff recommends the Commission just note the filing.
So, OPC, go ahead.
Good morning, Natalie Novak on behalf of the Maryland Office of People's Counsel. OPC requests that in noting this assignment, the Commission order Constellation New Energy to file quarterly reports reporting any customer complaints filed against Constellation New Energy, and that would be for a period of 2 years. OPC makes this request due to Constellation New Energy's recent significant complaint history. And this request is in line with a request OPC made in another recent assignment matter, which also involved a supplier with a significant complaint history. OPC notes that these customers were transferred or assigned from a company with 0 complaints posted on the CAD website to a company with several complaints posted on the CAD website. OPC requests complaint data from all customers and not just the assigned customers, because the issue is Constellation New Energy's recent poor performance overall. And just because any of the assigned customers don't file a complaint doesn't mean they aren't experiencing issues with Constellation New Energy. And requiring complaint data from all customers will provide a much fuller picture of Constellation New Energy's performance and complaint trends. Thank you.
So,
Yeah, good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Eric Wallace with the law firm Green Herlocker here on behalf of the Constellation entities that filed this notice. And I'm joined by Mark Hayden, the Assistant General Counsel for Constellation, as well as Maury Simpson, who's the Senior Manager of State Government Affairs for Constellation. We appreciate staff's review of the filing and comments there. And we've also reviewed OPC's request in this matter. From Constellation's perspective, I think there's a good story to report on complaints since March. The most recent data we have is from March, and there were some issues that drove to an increased complaint volume in the last year and at the beginning of this year. Since March, my understanding is that there's been a total of 5 complaints against the company, including 3 months with 0 complaints. And so there were some discrete issues that have been resolved, and things are heading in the right direction. Since these customers have been transferred, the company hasn't received any complaints at CAD from these customers. So the transition has been accomplished. We don't think that there's a need for an ongoing reporting requirement. That said, if the Commission is inclined to ask for some additional reporting, the company would be willing to provide a quarterly report. The one tweak that we would request with respect to OPC's request is that we align it with where the Commission landed on September 20th for the prior matter, which is reporting on the customers that were the subject of this transition rather than a broad reporting requirement across all of the different Constellation brands and all of the customers that are served by Constellation. That reporting will continue through CAD, the general reporting across on what's happening with complaints. But for an incremental reporting requirement, as requested by OPC here, we just asked to align it with where the commission landed in September, and do a quarterly report on the folks that were assigned under this notice. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Sushman.
Good morning, Mr. Wallace. Can you talk a little bit about what the issue was that caused the 39 complaints between January and March?
Yeah, I may turn it over to Mark to give a little more context on that specific.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Again, my name is Mark Hayden. I'm Assistant General Counsel at Constellation. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today on this issue. As one of Maryland's largest suppliers, as well as having our headquarters here in Maryland, we take these complaints very seriously. With respect to the issues that occurred at the beginning of this year, we saw in the fourth quarter of 2022, as well as the first quarter of 2023, a significant increase in call volume, customer activity, and customer switching, which frankly overwhelmed the systems that we had in place at the time. We saw approximately over double the call volume that we had previously and historically. So we've taken many measures to correct that situation.
And do you have a sense of what the increase was caused by? I mean, I'm assuming if you had an increase in call volume and then there was switching, then that would have been the case for other retail electric suppliers. But I'm not aware of the level of complaints that you've experienced in terms of these other retail electric suppliers.
I don't know the level of complaints in terms of other suppliers. I will say that the activity that we saw in the fourth quarter and the first quarter took place not only here in Maryland, but in other states where we had resources. So what we've done since then is restructured both our customer care center as well as our call center. So we have a dedicated team and a dedicated staff to address incoming calls and inbound activity. As a result of that, as Mr. Wallace said, since that point in time, since roughly April or May over the last 6 months, we've seen approximately 5 complaints filed against Constellation, all of which I believe have been resolved with the customer, and 3 months of activity where there were no complaints. So we had some internal structural issues where we had to increase volume and shift resources to better handle the volume of incoming calls that we were getting.
I think the concern I have is that I'm assuming you are the largest retail electric supplier in Maryland, and you're a legacy company. So you've been around for a very long time. 39 complaints is a lot of complaints, and
Yes.
I think that I would feel better sort of getting a progress report, maybe in a year. So in addition to the recommended quarterly reporting, and I think it really goes to, since you've acknowledged that the issues were not with Constellation Home, but with Constellation New Energy, that reporting for the new energy piece of the company, I think, makes the most sense if that's where the issues were, and then knowing in a year that the issues have been resolved, and having assurance that new issues haven't popped up, would, I think, give me some comfort that customers are being protected. Mr. Chairman, it seems to me that adopting OPC's suggested reporting, but with an additional reporting requirement of a year, coming back to us and letting us know how the customers within the entire Constellation New Energy Space are doing, particularly because of the 39 complaints. That's pretty troubling. So that's all I have.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to comment that I thought that the idea of sticking with the strategy we had in September of focusing on the customers who had changed was a useful one, in my opinion.
Commissioner Richard.
Yeah, I just wanted to allow OPC, if you'd like to comment on that, I guess that limiting reporting requirement. Does that comport with what you were hoping to get out of the reports, or do you still advocate for, I guess, a broader reporting?
Again, Natalie Novak on behalf of OPC. Thank you for the opportunity to respond. OPC recognizes that back in September, the Commission tailored OPC's request to limit it to just the assigned customers. So in that way, OPC acknowledges that's what the Commission ruled in September. OPC continues to request that the complaint, the reports cover all customer complaints and not just the customers who are assigned, because not everyone will file a complaint. And so, and those 39 complaints likely illustrate, they stand in the place for people who did not file a complaint. They don't know how to file a complaint. Maybe they called BGE thinking it was Constellation. Maybe they called Constellation, but they didn't file a CAD complaint. So we believe that there are issues that are not included in those official numbers. And so for that reason, OPC continues to request that the reports reflect all cluster complaints.
Okay, well, I thank you for that. And I think just given the Commission's attention over the last several years to the retail supplier space and concerns over complaints, I would support OPC's original request, and I'd be also supportive of Commissioner Suchman's concept as well.
Okay, so let's do this. I make a motion that we note the filing from Constellation Home Products and Constellation New Energy, but we direct Constellation New Energy to file quarterly reports for a period of 24 months, reporting any customer complaints filed against the company, including the customers you're assuming from Constellation Home, and that you also make a filing 1 year from now as to the status of the complaint situation with Constellation New Energy, at which point we will examine the reporting requirement going forward. So with that, Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe. Aye. Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. Oh. Commissioner O'Donnell. Hello.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure. So, did you hear the motion I made?
I did, but I'm going to abstain on the item because I didn't listen to the full breadth of the.
Okay, fair enough.
Item number 7, it consists of tariff revisions from Potomac Electric Power Company.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Eric Delgado on behalf of staff. On July 25th, 2023, the Potomac Electric Power Company, PEPCO, filed proposed tariff revisions to update its 2023 contribution in aid of construction, kayak, charges for rate schedule SSL, OH, LED. The Commission directed PEPCO by letter order to propose kayak charges for rate schedules SSL, OH, LED, and SSL, UG, LED. PEPCO currently only lists kayak charges for the non-LED rate schedules SSL UG and SSL OH for luminaire mounts, new supply connections, removals, and conversions. The kayak charges for SSL UG and SSL OH are based on 3 years of historical data and are updated annually. In Pepco's July filing and in Pepco's subsequent refiling on August 28, 2023, Pepco did not propose kayak charges for SSL UG LED because the company did not have 3 recent years of historical data to calculate the kayak charges for SSL UG LED in the same manner as the non-LED rate schedules. On September 18, 2023, Montgomery County submitted comments requesting that new supply connection kayak charges for SSL UG LED be listed and equal to that listed under the non-LED rate schedule SSL UG, given that the county has incurred kayak charges for new supply connections similar to that listed under SSL UG for their LED lights. Staff has reviewed the county's incurred supply connection kayak charges for its LED lights and finds it consistent with Pepco's listed supply connection kayak charge for its non-LED rate schedule SSL UG. On September 18, 2023, Pepco submitted an updated filing including the county's request for listing the new supply connection kayak charge for SSL UG LED and additional tariff language supporting the newly listed kayak charge for SSL UG LED. Staff finds the development of the kayak charges for SSL OH LED consistent with that of SSL OH and SSL UG, and supports Pepco's and Montgomery County's recommendation to use the rate schedules SSL UG listed supply connection kayak charge as a proxy for rate schedule SSL UG LED. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the updated tariff revisions submitted by Pepco on September 18, 2023 for filing with an effective date of October 25, 2023. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matthew Seegers appearing for Pepco. Appearing with me today are my subject matter experts, Mr. John Caroma, our supervising engineer, and Mr. Rob Stewart, our senior manager for engineering and design. We very much appreciate staff's analysis and staff's willingness to work with us and the county to make sure that the county's that their concerns on this item are addressed. We have nothing to add to staff's analysis, and we are here if you have any questions.
So, any questions from any of the commissioners? You okay? Okay. All right, so with that, I move that we accept the updated tariff revisions submitted by Potomac Electric Power Company on September 18, 2023, for filing with an effective date of October 25th, 2023, and then we also grant Pepco's request that the 30-day requirement waiver request be pursuant to Public Utility Article Section 4-203A be included. Commissioner Sussman?
Aye.
Commissioner Barve?
Aye.
Commissioner Richard?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Thank you. So,
you.
we will take a break until 11:30 before we start the WGL matter. So with